Hey everyone. So over in part one, we get into why ham radio works when our multi-million dollar public safety systems that we pay for crash and burn, when our internet providers crash and burn, when our cellular networks crash and burn, our ham radio operators are always on the air, and we just continue on like nothing ever happened. So when in our landline telephones, for anybody that still has one, when that doesn't even work, ham radio still works. So over there in part one, we talked about simplex frequencies, repeaters, HF. Did a couple demonstrations on HF with I talked to a guy over in Pescara, Italy, and it was from my radio to his radio, right from where I'm standing right now, all the way to Italy. No infrastructure whatsoever. No ISPs, no VPNs, no nothing. Um, that's how it goes. With real ham radio, we've got the privilege of being able to program our equipment on the fly, like I demonstrated over in part one. So if we need more frequencies in a hurry, we're out and about in emergency situations, we need frequencies, just start grabbing them. We can use whatever we need to in the ham bands. So over here in part two, I wanted to kind of start divulging into going portable with an HT, a portable radio, and a mobile radio, showing you just how quick and dirty and easy it is to do that. So when you get down on the HF bands, just because of the wavelength of the radio waves, you need longer antennas, maybe some tuners. All depends on what you're running for setup. But on the upper bands, which is what part two is dedicated to, so this doesn't run on forever, you don't need that. And I'm a firm believer in J-pole antennas. They are tough, they are rugged. You really have to work to break the things. There might be some naysayers out there that tell you, oh, them things are garbage, they're crap, they're trash, don't waste your time and money and effort on them. Bull. Bull, bull, bull. I've been a ham operator since 1997. It's 2021. That's how long I've been doing this. Yeah, I'm getting up there, guys. I'm over the hill. I got gray hairs. I cut that crap off. Shave that crap off, too, so you don't see it. It's how long I've been doing this stuff. I still use J-poles. I used J-poles when I was a teenager. Um, they work, man, and they're cheap and they're easy to build. You can do it. It's not hard. So you can go down to the uh, hardware store. Maybe somebody's got some scrap copper in their barn or whatever. You could probably these days build one for 25, $30 with the COVID prices. So it's not hard to get on the air for VHF UHF. So let's get into it. Throw some stuff together. I'm just doing it out here in the yard. I'm going to do it with a mag mounting antenna. I'm going to do it with a J-pole. See what we get. Going mobile or portable with VHF or UHF is real easy compared to HF. You don't need to have bigger antennas. You don't need to have tuners. Because of the wavelength, we can get away with smaller antennas. So here's a portable radio with the rubber ducky antenna taken off and one of those special little adapters hooked up to a piece of coax. I don't like doing this very often, especially in like a mobile application, because you're gonna break these. They're not much. So don't buy one, get 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 and have some spares on hand if this is how you're gonna rig stuff up. Never hurts to have a few spares anyway. And the coax line is, you can see it wiggling there. And it's running up to the antenna, which I jammed into the wood pile. There's the antenna. So right where the cable connects is only just above my head, so it's maybe 6.5 feet off the ground. Nothing fancy with this antenna. It's the J-pole. And with about 5 watts of power, I'm able to hit a repeater that is about 30 miles away from here with just this elevation. These antennas are nice because you can jam them in a snowbank, you can hang them up a tree, jam them in a wood pile like I've done right here. It doesn't take much to get these things to work. They're not fussy. They're very, very, very forgiving. And they do work good. And they're cheap to build. So this is one way of getting out and about on VHF and UHF. Another way we can do it is drag out a power supply and a generator and use the generator to create 120 volts AC, then use the power supply to reduce that down to 12 volts DC to run a mobile radio. Or we can drag out a deep cycle battery and a mobile radio and hook that up to the antenna. It doesn't take too much. So we can do that in just a second. A very, very cheap but effective antenna is called a J-pole. Here's your J. From here, there's your J. And it runs up to the top of the antenna. All in all, it's 7.5, 8 feet tall maybe. And kind of a pain to transport it in a car. So a few years ago I got the bright idea to put some screw fittings in it. Which, when I did that, I had to shorten up the overall length of the antenna and take out that amount of distance. So I can unscrew it right here. Down here on the mounting leg, I can unscrew it, collapse it down into 3 pieces, make it a lot easier to move it around. There's the antenna connector. This is one of the old original antennas that I built years and years and years ago. Nowadays, when I say nowadays, you get a little bit of weak spot here doing it this way. So what I started doing was hammering out some copper pipe, soldering it onto this pipe. So you have a flat section, drill a hole through it, and then solder the connector through the flat plate just to beef it up some. So this antenna is nothing more than some 1/2-inch copper water pipe, painted black. You can get that about anywhere. Get a 1/2-inch elbow and a 1/2-inch T. If this is an antenna that you're going to move around in a pickup truck or permanent base station, don't bother putting in the fittings. I made this for field use. So if you've got scrap water pipe, or you can go to a junkyard and get some pipe, you can probably get it pretty cheap. If not, maybe local hardware stores got it. I have no idea what the prices are these days, but back in the day you could basically buy all the parts for this brand new and build it for 20 bucks. There's the J-pole. It's been up there on the roof for years. Works good. I can hit repeaters 30 miles away with 1 watt of power on 2 meters or VHF. So if you want something easy and cheap and have a little bit of solder skills or know somebody that does, here you go. So what's the SWR look like with the J-pole stuck in the wood pile? Well, down at the bottom of the band we got 1.7. Crawling up the band, we're getting a little bit lower. Top of the band, 1.1. So we can actually do a sweep of this. Watch and see what happens. So it's going to sweep from 146 megahertz, right in the middle of the 2 meter band, down 2 megahertz and up 2 megahertz. So it's going to sweep from 144 to 148. That red line is the SWR trace. There, it's done. So that's what you got across the band on a graph. Well, what's the antenna look like if we go stick it somewhere else? Is this going to change? Alright, we've got the antenna down here jammed into a wood chipper now. So notice we're touching metal, get all kinds of metal. The mounting plug is right on the ground. However, we're not shorting out anything up here around the J. So let's do a sweep and see what happens. See how bad our SWR is. Look at that. Real good SWR all the way across the band. And we've changed the location of the antenna. We've got metal touching it. It's going to work right there. We're not going to worry about blowing a bunch of power back down the transmission line, hitting the radio. Okay, I'm trying to demonstrate how versatile and forgiving this antenna is. I'm trying to get a bad SWR on it. So now we are a little cockeyed. And here's our mounting structure. Got it stuck in a cement block on the ground. Now let's do a sweep. See what we get here. Look at that. Just goes down and down and down and down and down. So we have, again, a great SWR across the band. Now I could probably tweak with the antenna a little bit and make it better, but hey, this is good. There's my off button. So there's 3 different spots. One's touching metal, one's sitting right on the ground, the other one's touching metal on the ground, and then the other one's jammed in the wood pile, and there's the SWR across the band. You don't have great elevation, but the antenna will work at those elevations. You'll get some local coverage out of it, maybe you'll get some repeaters out of it for the low cost of whatever you can find some copper pipe and some fittings for. Here's some examples of mobile radios. The 2 on the left here are VHF analog, and this is VHF UHF analog. They all put out about 40 watts on VHF, and that one puts out, I think it's like 25 watts on UHF. So yeah, you can't run it on a little battery pack like a portable. You're going to need a deep cycle battery or a power supply, something like that, to do it. And hey, it's all good and fine. You got more power output. They're small, they're lightweight. You can throw it in a car. You can set it up in a fire station. You can throw them in emergency vehicles. You can get them in people's camps, out in the woods, RVs. Just about anywhere you need to throw a radio. and it's real easy to do. And then you have ham radio. Then you have all the capabilities of the ham repeaters, the simplex frequencies, programming stuff on the go, unlike your commercial line of radios. So let's get outside and put some of this on the air using a battery. Like you saw with the J-pole jammed in the woodpile, I had the portable hooked up to it. You can also hook up to a car antenna, like so. Same idea. You can get a hold of it. You got your connector. You'll need whatever adapter is appropriate for your radio. Get a magnet mount base. Throw it on the hood of the vehicle, on the roof of the vehicle. Run your cable in through the door and hook a portable up to it, and you got some down and dirty ham radio. You can hook up a mobile, same way. Don't run it through a cigarette lighter. You'll get away with it down on like 5 watts of output power. But cigarette lighters are not, I repeat, not built to handle sucking 8, 9, 10 amps through them trying to power a 55, 60 watt radio. You're going to start burning up stuff in your car.
B5NKJ repeater. The time is 1:19 p.m.
Here's an example of taking a mobile radio, setting it up. Here's a couple of deep cycle batteries in parallel. So I've connected the two of them together. Hooked up the radio, as you see. Then the antenna cable is running out the door. Don't mind the cardboard on the ground. And here's the antenna magnet mount. It's stuck to a welding machine. It's right at ground level, but it works. SWR is good. That's how quick and easy you can get a mobile ham radio set up in the field. Now let's try it with a J-pole. So this is the repeater that's roughly 13 miles away through a big chunk of granite. The signal meter on this radio is not great. The receiver in this radio is not great, so on a better radio we have a better signal coming back. Well, let's see what we have for an antenna now. Still rigged up to the batteries. Yes, I do not have a fuse in this. Shame on me. This is just for demonstration purposes. We should always have a fuse of proper size. Let's chase our coax. Well, here's a traffic cone. Here's our J-pole stuck in the traffic cone. That's what we got. It works. I can hit my, I will call local repeaters, just like this. 30 miles away, 20 miles away, 13 miles away. Well, guys, adding to the conversation here. I hear you. I know you're hungry. So that little rig right there. Couple batteries. You don't need two, but two extends the runtime. Quick and dirty ham radio. I can take this out, throw it in the woods, throw it anywhere it needs to go. As long as I can get into repeaters, I have the entire range of those radio repeaters. I also have simplex, wherever the range may be from wherever I'm at.